the shoulders of Sierra Leone, in that Sierra Leone is not only dealing with continental peace and security as a continental issue, but as a global issue, but also get an inward responsibility in African Union, being a member of the African Union Peace and Security Architecture under the African Union Peace and Security Council. All of these responsibilities, both at multilateral and bilateral, don't posture Sierra Leone as a very decent and capable country in the international space. In the words of
H.A., the president, we assume office for a second-term mandate. One of the things they emphasizing for cleaning the image of Sierra Leone internationally. You sitting at the helm of affairs, representing the president internationally. How far you think they're able for work with His Excellency in vision for bringing this clean image of the country internationally?
Well, yes. 5 or 6 years ago, when the president came, he said the reputation of the country being in the abyss, in the place where Sierra Leone was not considered as a credible player in the international space. And I believe, what we are having today, it's a culmination, is the effect of the sanitization of the image of the country by His Excellency the President, where it's taken both domestically and also Sierra Leone's participation in international fora all around the world. And of course, like you always say, a country in foreign policy, it's a reflection of in domestic ambition, in domestic workings, in domestic progression. And so it is no surprise that the reforms that have been undertaken in the country now a reflection, now we see what we get in the international space. And that is the reason why you see Sierra Leone, they get this overwhelming election into these very responsible global rooms where global security and continental security are discussed and where decisions are made on global peace, security, stability, and development. And I believe, that sanitization is a work in progress. A country is never there, but at every point in time, we therefore try to increase on the good image of the country and spotlight, flash a spotlight on the country for the other people, and we respect the country, and we will not cease. We continue to do that. But our responsibility is not only to sit down inside them big place and therefore decide on global peace and security and development, but also for create impact in multilateral organizations, for make Sierra Leoneans and will get opportunities for working in space today. I can tell you, even right now, in the UN system, Sierra Leone, we don't get priority because in the Security Council, having Sierra Leoneans to participate and work for multilateral institutions, that is very important. So these are all effect of reforms where His Excellency the President don't undertake in the international space.
Internationally, when you talk about peace and security business, Salon seem for the dual being placed in the United Nations Security Council and also the role where Salon they play in the AU as well. But one question where people only ask now, waiting Salon they give, when you come back home, issues and the way they happen, where plenty of people they describe as threats to we own peace nationally. Waiting Salon they give internationally.
So you have to understand, when we go out for represent Sierra Leone, we take on board everybody. The foreign policy of a country is without discrimination. It is in view that we carry with flag, and with flag represent every facet. Every human group of a society is represented by the flag of Sierra Leone. What in happen domestically is the fact that even though we're a nation, we get divergence in political orientation, we get divergence in culture, we agree, even though sometimes our cultural differences are almost imperceptible, but they exist because no two persons or cultures are the same. So, and we also have varied interests, whether it is economic, it's social, whether it is also political. So where all of these interests they play, here, you'd expect the tensions are always here and there. Even in the greatest democracy in the world, in America, we see, America seems to be very good out there, but also internally we see what's in the happen everywhere in the world. So these things are bound. So it is not a surprise, humanly, that Sierra Leone is doing fantastically out there. And I think we're also doing very well here. If there's no peace and security in Sierra Leone, I will not be in a studio right now I came into this studio without even security, and I don't see any security getting up to your studio. So it shows that Sierra Leone, in fact, the reason why I think we respect it is because Sierra Leone don't master peace building and peace consolidation. We will continue just like how they work international for ensure, say, we build internal security, national cohesion, unity, because these are the essential ingredients for national development.
So in terms of playing in the country image, the current president's view, they say initially when he came to power, how you would describe the status of the country image now internationally presently?
But I tell you what, I think I was not in this role a couple of years ago, so I cannot make a better judgment of how we feel today compared to then.
Based on what you read.
Yes, but based on what I met, and like I said, it's a progression, and I think I feel so pleased and proud of His Excellency the President, the people of this country and Sierra Leone, because everywhere you go, then they accord that respect to us. And sometimes you go to places and people ask, how is President Bio doing? Sierra Leone is coming up, Sierra Leone is progressing. And I believe, say, even though not the president, they set the agenda, and in the principal diplomat of the country, where they push the image of the country, every individual, every Sierra Leonean has a role to play in that.
As you say, Sierra Leone dey progress. Normally, if any foreign investor or diplomat want for come to the country, they can able to do the fact checking about Sierra Leone. As a foreign minister, if somebody want for come down to the country in terms of the country in peace, security, foreign policy, and investment climate, how you can assess the country presently? With all that will happen, especially after the June 24th elections, issues where the opposition refused to accept the elections result, and a tripartite committee can see the role of the international community play for mediate.
So the definition of a clement business environment is not only political, it's also economics, it's also finance, it's also environment, and many other factors. After the June 23rd election, like every other human society, like any other election in the world, there will always be contestation. It is whether or not the contestation is legitimate or the contestation is such in terms of volume, in terms of impact, that it will affect the general peace and security and democracy of the state. And in this case, in Sierra Leone right now, those protestations, those vexations, those people not feeling good about the outcome of the election, I think to a large extent, that government, both the opposition, with development partners, we will all work together to see how we will address some of those concerns and issues that have come up after the 2023 elections, which in fact culminated into the national peace dialogue between the main opposition, APC, and the ruling SLPP government, where we get this very famous tripartite engagement, and there are recommendations in the report of the tripartite. But I think those are institutional, and I don't want to speak to those because those are not indispensable to invest. They are not the be-all and end-all to the investment environment of a country. What I always tell investors or anybody who is interested in Sierra Leone is that when you come to Sierra Leone, like even after the November 26 attempted coup, we had investors, we had diplomats who came to the country. A few days after the incident, it almost looked like nothing transpired in this country. This country is heralded internationally as one of the most peaceful countries in the world. In terms of investment, I think I have a little hindsight in terms of how private sector investors feel about the country. Remember, a little over a year ago, I was Minister of Mines and Mineral Resources, which is an economic sector. And we see, before I became Minister of Mines, we had about 2 major large-scale mining companies that were operating, Sierra Rutile and Kwedu Holding. All other mining companies were either crippling or, in fact, we have very few large-scale mining companies that I could count with my one hand. But then, because of the nature of the economic environment, the business space. We see, say, before Adevi left the Ministry of Mines and Mineral Resources, we had a number of large-scale mining companies that are now fully operational in the country. We get a number of small-scale mining companies. The mining sector is very much active. And besides the mining sector, we see investment in technology, in infrastructure. And I believe, say, if the environment was not clement, it wasn't conducive, it wasn't peaceful, it wasn't seen as a flourishing democracy, we know we get all of those businesses and partners in the country. And also the abiding faith and trust that people get in with peace, quietness, and development. That is why you see many embassies and countries, they opt for open then space than I have to operate fully.
Mr. Kabba, not so new, say, after the June 24th election, the international partners, they've not been too pleased with the outcome, because when they see statement after statement about the transparency of the elections, where we make at some point the U.S. State Department being tied the NCC money to the outcome of the tripartite. One want to know how you able to mediate between the government of Sierra Leone, sitting at the helm of affairs, we campaign the foreign face of Salon. What is the role you play for mediation between the international partners, international community with the government of Sierra Leone? Because we don't see, inside the MCC money don't come, donor partner, they don't begin, they lose money to the government of Sierra Leone. Will you be part of?
I may have to quote the president, His Excellency President Julius Madabi. He always says up to date, and I know that's very much veritable. That up to date, former President Donald Trump now accepts President Biden actually won the elections that saw President Biden becoming president. Elections are always a contentious issue, but like I said, we have a functional executive right now. The judiciary is functional, which is independent, of course, of elections and their outcome. But the legislature is also functional, that has both APC and SLPP parliamentarians, which tells you that the outcome, because the composition of that particular parliament is a function of the outcome of the elections of 2023. And everybody know in space and position in Sierra Leone right now. So I think, yes, there were concerns expressed in the process, but the institutions and the process itself are not dependent on the president that won the presidential election. These are two different things. So when the international, some of our international partners then question the process, there were those that actually exalted the process and also congratulated the president. And these are very major countries in the world. And no international partner, not in a salon, will stop for deal with Sierra Leone or President Bio on account of the outcome of the 2023 presidential and legislative elections. There is this abiding trust in the presidency and in Sierra Leone. So how did we keep this relationship? The foundation of every relationship is actually trust, right? And relationship between two countries is they actually transcend the president or the government within a power. It's a relationship between two countries, and the country is largely represented by its citizenry. And so whether or not somebody feels otherwise about the outcome of the elections, they would have to deal with our country. They will have to deal with the government, because there is abiding trust between for instance, the United States, Britain, China, Russia, and Sierra Leone. So yes, it is always good to engage your partners. When it happened and I got in as minister, it was my responsibility to engage the international partners there for sure. They say Sierra Leone is a work in progress. Our democracy is not eventful. It is one that is built over time. Remember, a little over 20 years ago, this country was in total carnage. Today we get peace, quietness, and development. So I think they understood, and they are fully on board to help Sierra Leone on its development trajectory.
But government acknowledge, say, the way unfold after that particular election affects the country image outside.
Well, I don't think I ever went anywhere in the world and somebody said, Mr. Minister, we're not happy with what happened in Sierra Leone. No, nobody ever And it did not. This is an internal issue. And because it's an internal issue, those who spoke to the outcome of the process are actually people that are based in this country, whether it's diplomats, development partners, but those who also acclaimed the process and congratulated the president, congratulated the government, they are all representatives of either organizations, but they are based in this country. So, in essence, while the president became so magnanimous to work with international partners to review the electoral processes and the institutions, it is for increase the democratic credentials of a country that is continuously reforming itself to fit in the estimation of a democratic state.
As a foreign minister, one of the role we play for the do not confidence in Sierra Leone again.
Well, it's not my singular responsibility. It's the responsibility of the president, responsibility of ministries, agencies, and departments. My own role, yes, I understand. My own role as foreign minister of foreign affairs is out there to tell people that Sierra Leone is a peaceful democracy in the sense that all the organs of government are interchangeably, all the organs of government are functioning very well. Our judiciary is a reliable component of government, which means if you bring your investment in our country or you engage with us diplomatically, there is always a space to go for legal recourse and a space where justice can be meted, fairly, without let or fear, without any partiality. And so it is all of those, and also we have a legislature. We go always ensure, say, if you get into an agreement or contract with Sierra Leone, that particular agreement will be sanctified by ratification by Parliament. So all of those components of governance, then they give investors then confidence for coming into a country, and also bilateral partners for establish and strengthen with bilateral relations.
The how you been talk earlier, we make mention of embassies and way other countries can open now as salon. There's this concern where the public gets government opening embassies in other countries, especially where we all know the status of the economy right now in the country, the way which they add, and people don't describe this as just a way for reward people where the president believes say they don't help them, perhaps the same way they're in opposition or don't they support government. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I believe they cannot open their office anyway without your knowledge. Why advising presidents to get more embassies in other countries at this time?
Well, we're not a destitute nation. That we because of poverty that we go isolate ourselves. Sierra Leone historically has always been a shining star in West Africa. Back in the 60s, even before we got colonized, and before independence, I should say, Sierra Leone played a key role in enlightening British West Africa. This was the capital of British West Africa that exported education, Christian religion based on Anglican philosophy to Ghana and other places. In fact, Sierra Leone led many multilateral organizations in the world and played an active role in the UN system. Sierra Leone played a key role in the emancipation of many of the countries that were oppressed in Southern Africa, and even played a refuge to countries like Namibia, even the present Prime Minister of Namibia, like Conventonia. So Sierra Leone has been, and Sierra Leone also has always been playing a key role in the decolonization of countries that will still find themselves under ignoble colonization in the 21st century. And so for open and establish ourselves internationally, it is sure say Sierra Leone is a key player in the global system. Every bilateral relation, they go with benefit, both at multilateral and bilateral. Let me explain this. Now, for instance, within our Security Council, it is because Sierra Leone is in the Security Council that many countries also, traditionally that have never had any relationship with Sierra Leone, want to engage with Sierra Leone because they have recognized the global leadership stature of a country, which I think every Sierra Leonean must be proud of. Come to the economics. Every business where they can at this country largely, therefore, interface in that country where the businessman they come out here for interface with a Sierra Leone mission, forget first-hand information or forget the document then when necessary for Canada country. When you go out, you reach to different countries, you establish relationship. You know, they only benefit from investment, you get scholarship opportunities, you get things that we go on at the multilateral space so people will vote for your country. Imagine in 2023, when Salon go for the UN Security Council seat, 188 countries, over 192 countries in the world, and they vote for Sierra Leone. It is the touch, the relationship that Sierra Leone has. And as Minister of Foreign Affairs, I'm very proud of our country. Since after independence to now, our foreign policy has been a very enviable foreign policy. So for now we see countries and they can't open embassy in Asalo. It tell you them countries and they then trust the country and then want for engage your country. Take Iceland for instance. Iceland don't open embassy in Asalo because Iceland is supporting Sierra Leone greatly in the blue economy. It work greatly with the Ministry of Fisheries for develop strategies for fishery industry and also for help the country develop in fishing sector. Algeria, for instance, Algeria is a key player in the African Union. We get Sierra Leoneans that way they look for job that the AU systems. Anytime they go be subjected to the entire 54 countries for vote for them. If we not get a relationship with these countries, how then countries are going to vote for Sierra Leone? And also the economics. It's not about rewarding people. I mean, most of the ambassadors that the President Bio they appoint, some, especially this batch of ambassadors, you see say they have what it takes to represent Sierra Leone out there and to bring opportunities for our country.
What happen where Salongo gets embassy in a certain country, but you go see where they get events or something, delegation will come out there again for to represent the country, even though they get people where government they pay in the embassy.
In diplomacy, let's start with me first as foreign minister. In diplomacy, you have ranks and levels because we feel say, I mean, this for me, it's a sense of mental, let me say, when we feel we're poor, but I always say we're not a poor country. We're just material, we get material shortage, but we're not a poor country. I'm saying this informed by the fact that I was Minister of Mines, and besides mining, this country is endowed with many natural potentialities, which if we unlock, this country will be one of the best countries in terms of development and economics in our country, in the world, and we're moving towards that. When it comes to levels, if there's a meeting, for instance, in the UK, a meeting of foreign ministers, diplomacy does not permit a high commissioner to sit at that highest conference level. If they discuss something that is high, it is always preferable to have the minister there because that is when the country will be able to make its point in amongst the equals of foreign ministers. And so you get conference, which is ministers, then you get summit, when our presidents, the heads of state, then they attend summit, because that's not the climax of every diplomatic meeting. You don't get a summit in a country, we say other president and you will send ambassador for sitting on that summit day. The ambassador will not speak as per protocol. The ambassador will not be recognized as per protocol equally as the heads of state are going to be recognized. Let me give you an instance. And this varies with cultures and also geography. We went to South Korea. I had to represent the president in a business forum of heads of state. In some countries, in some jurisdictions, I will be if the president not go, the minister they, now the ministers will be the last people that will read the president's statement. But in South Korea, in that meeting, not even was I allowed to read the statement of the president because the culture, their own diplomatic culture, not call for that. So yes, you can have your embassy. The embassy can facilitate, but at certain levels, you have to have the professionals or the people that are cut out for that. For instance, where trade policies are going to be articulated, even if you have an ambassador, it is best that you have the Minister of Trade attend that conference to articulate the trade policies of Sierra Leone and be able to woo investment for trade and investment in your country.
All right, viewers, in case you just tune in, they watch the breakfast show, they come to you live from Liberty Online Television, within our Facebook, YouTube, and also the stream live now our website, where they powered by Orange Sierra Leone. Today in the studio, we get the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Timothy Kabba, where they update we on the bilateral.
Alhaji.
I beg your pardon, Alhaji Musa Timothy Kabba, we update to now about the bilateral relationship there we Salon get with other countries there. And as we all know, His Excellency the President, they can left anytime from now for going to the UN Security Council. We can talk all of that, the waiting Salon for expect as the country they go sit at the international stage and waiting His Excellency the President gets for Kelgo for showcase salon. All of this you don't know is that the program. In case you get a question for Alhaji Musa Timothy Kabba, send them through the comment section. You can as well text me on +232 742 as the number then at the screen, or you can just send me a text message.
Alright, we continue with the breakfast show and we come back to the minister as we continue to talk about salon party business with other countries. Then the time from the studio clock now 2 minutes after 9 o'clock. Continue for sending message as we continue to talk about salon and other countries. Inside 2023, we salon being go through the elections for the UN Security Council. That special 6-day way salon value this particular position gets to the country. Come August, we know say President Bill will for represent Salon as the chair for that particular city. But let me just go back. 2023, we Salon win this seat. Waiting now the value where the country get forgets throughout the period where President Bill for the chair.
Well, somebody would want to ask the question, say, why we opt for dinner at the Security Council. It's expensive. Yes, it's expensive. But the world is a global village, and everybody has a role to play in that village. And it is good that your role is recognized, and so that you'll be accorded the proportionate respect where you deserve for existing in that particular village. For me, I think it's with immense pride that I will here, acknowledge the leadership of the president and really express appreciation and thanks to the president for giving me the opportunity for be the minister responsible for foreign affairs right now with Sierra Leone in the Security Council. This is after 53 years with peace and security. And because we are a key global player and we get a role not only to the world, but particularly to Africa, and also particularly even so to West Africa and to the sub-region. The past 7 months, Sierra Leone don't prove to be a country of reason, not international space, and a responsible country. Remember when we get conflict, now other people that may determine waiting for happen and when the war for done in this country, the volume of support when they forgive Salom, and people then come for help we for transition from a war-torn country to a developing country that we are today. And so we get a responsibility to reciprocate, we get a responsibility for defend global peace and security, we get a responsibility for promote humanitarian law, we get a responsibility for promote peace and security in the world. So therefore, going to the Security Council means Sierra Leone they play an integral role in peace and peace building and consolidation of the world today. And we did at the Security Council at a very crucial time, at a time when the world is seemingly consumed by armed conflict, notably the Israel-Palestine conflict. We start October, Sierra Leone take the presidency in January. We have played a key role in peace and security for the people of Palestine and Israel. Also within the Security Council, we will get